Yo, this is it. I'm Mr. Fade, and you're listening to Attack of the Beats on IllMuzik.com. Here we are once again on the 5 beats and the 5 reviews, and we're going to do it this time. Do it properly, because actually I'm having a beer right now, so the reviews might be a little brutal. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen, right? But hold on a second. Yeah, all right. So, I'm a little bit behind here because this past week I was pretty much offline because I just upgraded my PC. And unfortunately, Windows was acting like a little bitch, so, that just shut me down for a good few days and all that stuff. So, now I'm back up and running and about to kick this off. And first up, we got 808 Lord with, what's it called here? Nights in the Six. Let's check it out.
Maybach music. All right. Okay, so that was 808 Lord with Nights in the Six. And, in the description, it says it's a Drake type beat. And, I can picture Drake on this. Yeah, I can see that happening. But, I just think that there's a few things that need some adjusting. So, for example, that violin you have going through, it's a basic pattern or whatever, but I just don't think that violin sounds good. I think if you're going to keep that, you should make it sound more authentic. It's just one of those sounds where it's kind of cheesy, and like I said, keep the pattern, but just change it up. But then I'm like, okay, wait a second. Halfway through the beat, all of a sudden you change it up and you have this synth playing that pattern. I said, okay, now that sounds much better than the violin. So I would just go with the synth part, not even the violin. Like I said, unless you can get the violin sounding more authentic. But I would just go with the synth part, really, and just keep that. Now, the other thing, too, is that the pattern, it's a simple pattern, but it is a little repetitive. So, you might want to just have a few breaks here and there and all that stuff. And, I do like the fact that you have some good change-ups in the beat. It's not just the same beat, the same loop over and over or whatever. So, but halfway through you have the some screaming or something. But, that could be adjusted because it just cuts off abruptly. Okay, so, and that's the thing with the whole beat, I think, is that it just needs a little bit of polish, let's say. There's just certain little things I think that just need to be adjusted slightly. So, like I said, that screaming, you could have it trail off, right? Have like a delay or something like that. And, maybe the hi-hat, have it a little, wider because it sounds a little too short for me, for my liking and stuff. And then the 808 kick. I mean, it's good. It's just that
besides watching your levels, it's just, it's pretty heavy. I mean, it's just just heavy 808 constantly and stuff. And that's one of the things I always recommend to people. If you're using 808s, that's fine. But you got to be careful, man. You don't want to keep just, boom, boom, boom all the way through, because it's a lot, I mean, that might be good for somebody driving around and just want to, just bump this or whatever. But hey, come on, seriously. But hold on a sec. Yeah, so anyway, like I was saying, I think it just needs some polish overall. I think the whole thing overall, just some polish. The mix overall just needs to be a little cleaner, let's say, whatever. But yeah, so pretty much just, I would get rid of the violin, keep the synth part. Don't make it so simple, like, maybe change it up a bit, or just, take it out a few spots, whatever, and just polish up the mix. That's about it, really. But yeah. All right, so next up, we've got AR the Superstar with Always Love Me. Let's check it out. All right. Okay, so that was AR the Superstar with Always Love Me. So for this beat, it's kind of like the previous one, where it just needs to be tightened up. Okay, so I've heard this type of style before with your beats, and if I'm not mistaken, I think you told me you use machine. I'm not sure, but I think that's what it is. But let's say you are, for example, then I think that in your case, so like with this drum pattern especially, is you would benefit from having the step sequencer instead of just banging out the pads, okay? Because it just, like, when you hear the snare and the hand clap, it just sounds a little rushed compared to the tempo, you know what I mean? So I think if you use the step sequencer, of course that'll tighten everything up for you and stuff, and then you can adjust the swing and whatnot. But I'm assuming that with this beat, I'm assuming that you were playing it on the pads, or whatever, because of the fact that the snare and hand clap just sounds a little rushed or whatever. So yeah, try the step sequencer. I mean, and play with that, because it'll definitely tighten up the drum track, at least, So, and as far as the beat itself, I like it, because you have a bit of singing there, then the other music is there, it's just smooth, and then you cut it out. Like you're leaving room for an MC or something like that. Like you're building like a nice little track there. So I like that. It's just that I just think, again, like the mix needs some work. So like the low end, I want to hear the kick a little more. It needs to be a little punchier. And I think for the snare, you should bring up the snare a little more and bring the hand clap down, because I find the hand clap is a little too piercing in the ear or whatnot. So
And there's other things too after that. You could extend that music from the sample, just extend it a little more, loop it a little longer, whatever. But yeah, I would say just work on that a bit. Just work on the sequencing, the step sequencing, and then just tighten up the track, and then the mix, man, just the mix. I mean, and for mixing, I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, it's just I think most guys, they just don't really want to bother mixing their beats too much, but I mean, yeah, just take some time, just work on the mix a little. You don't have to do too much for it, just a little, just to tighten it up and just make everything sound kind of even and all that, and it'll sound a lot better. But for what you have here, I like it. It's a good beat, and yeah, just make some changes, and it should be good to go. All right, so next up we got Beats by Black with Dreamy. Let's check it out. All right. I guess that was Beats by Black with Dreamy. And, this track, it is kind of dreamy, right? It's got this dreamy type synth and all that. You got some stuff going on in the back, and it's nice. Like, I like how it's laid back. It's chill. You've got these this synth in the background that's just like, like the title of the track. It's just dreamy. And I just want to hear more of it, though. That's the problem. Because at the beginning, you have that quick synth coming in, but all of a sudden you cut it out and you bring in your drums. And I was like, oh, man, like you should have just kept that going, But then you brought it in halfway through the beat, and it sounded nice. So then I was like, you should keep that going. I mean, not all the way through the beat, but, just try to keep it going a little more. And because, without that, the drum track is, even though it's laid back, it's kind of just, I'm not going to say boring, but it's just kind of somewhat dull, let's say, whatever. So, and I think that's because, first of all, the kick, I think it just needs to be EQ'd so that it sounds a little brighter, because right now it's very, very deep sounding. And actually, the biggest thing that bothered me was the snare, because the snare's okay, but I just think that if you had a better sounding snare, like you could layer something on top of this one, and then because you have this dreamy synth, I would recommend that you add like a big reverb onto that snare. Once you do that, it gives it gives it the impression that it's this big room that you're in, right? You're filling in this big room with this reverb plus the dreamy synth. I mean, you've got room for it, right? I mean, you don't have a lot of instruments going on, so you got room to use all that reverb. So why not? Try it, and it'll make a big difference. It'll make a big difference when you have that snare smack. And it doesn't have to be in every snare hit. It could just be every other or every fourth or whatever. And yeah, it'll make a big difference. But try that. And then, like I said, just EQ the kick so it's a little punchier, not so deep. And then I want to hear more of that synth. Bring it up more, because it's very low there. Because especially there's this one part where you have the low end. It just kind of blends in with the synth really nicely, but I just can't hear it much. I want to hear more of that stuff. So I would bring out that synth a little more and make that more prominent. But I like it though. It's good. It's a minimal beat. It's some dope shit, but just needs some tweaking. All right. So next up we got Don Pedro with RDY. Let's check it out. All right. Okay, so that was Don Pedro with RDY. All right, so this is a nice beat. I like this shit because right off the bat you got the drums, which I've got no complaints on. The drums sound nice, they're tight, and it's a good pattern, very simple pattern, and it blends in very well with the bass line. Okay, you got a subtle bass line, so right there you got your drums, bass line, and it's all well put together. So right there, that's good. Okay, then you have that sample that you're using, but it's very muffled. So I was like, okay, where are you going with this? You know, it did get kind of repetitive, but then when you brought it in full force for the hook, that's what really sounded nice. Okay, so that's a really good use of that sample. It's a nice sounding sample. It's nice and bright on the hook and all that stuff, and it just sounds really good. So you did the right thing though, because you're using that on the hook, and then for the verses, you drop it out and just have it muffled or whatever. So that's the good thing. The problem when you do something like that, you know, I do that all the time. So the problem when you do something like that is you know, either you're gonna have a rapper on top of it, let's say, or you add some instrument on top. So a lot of times I'll just add an instrument just to fill that void, because when you drop out the high end of the sample and just leave the low end muffled, like a low pass filter, I mean, that's good. It's just that it's not all samples work that way, you know, like in your case it doesn't. I just find when you just have the muffled part, it just kind of sounds empty and it just sounds like this repetitive loop. So I would just add something to it. So, you know, I'm thinking, because of the type of sample it is, I'm thinking you could just add some strings on top of that, maybe even some keys or whatever, but just something smooth, because it's a smooth sample, and just add that on top. Just something very, very simple and straightforward. It doesn't have to be a big pattern. Just, you know, it could be something that hits on the first bar or whatever. And yeah, just something to fill that void, because right now it's just this muffled sample, which just needs a little bit of life, let's say. So just experiment with different instruments and see what you can come up with, because I think the only exciting part is the hook part, which is really good though. So yeah, I just need to add some slight instrument to the muffled part of the sample there. Just to brighten it up a bit. But other than that, everything else is very, very good. I like it. Give you props on this one, man. Some good shit. All right, so next up we get the last beat. It's Plastel with Dust. Let's check it out. All right. Okay, so that was Plastel. I don't know how to pronounce that. With Dust. All right, so first of all, I love sampling piano. It's some dope shit because you can go any which way you want with piano, right? And in this case, it sounds really dope. I like what you did with the piano. You didn't just loop it over and over. You play with it. And then you have the drums. Nice drum pattern. It's like this stuttered drum pattern almost. And the drum sounds are very, very good. And it's the bass, I think, that really makes this beat, because the bass, it's not constant, it's not throughout, but when it hits, it hits really nicely because it blends in really well with the kick, and it blends in really well with the piano. So props on that bass line. That's really, really good. So with that, I mean, you could have just kept going, but then you changed it up, because I was hoping you would change up the piano pattern, so that you didn't just have the same thing. And you did. That was good. Especially halfway through the beat, you hear this other small piano, and it sounded really, really good. And then you had this the drum roll and all that stuff. So you thought of these things, you added these little things that made a big difference, and that's why I really, really like this beat. It just sounds nice, but I think for me, really, it's the bass, man. That's what just really fills out this beat, and well, of course, the piano, but yeah, the bass and the piano just by themselves, that's really, really good. I mean, then you add those drums, they sound good, they fit really well. So yeah, I would just say maybe the snare could add a bit of reverb, have a bit of reverb or something like that, but other than that, everything sounds really good to me. It's a dope beat, man. I really like this shit. Yeah, some good stuff. Hold on a sec. Yeah, so it's a dope beat. All right, so that's it for me, Mr. Fade. This is Attack of the Beats. Keep sending the beats in. I'll keep reviewing them. And my favorite beat this time, the winner is, drum roll please, Plastel with Dust. Let's check it out.